Hi, and welcome to another Needle It video. This is a video about the basic laws, fundamental laws of Chinese medicine, and these are also the laws of Chinese philosophy. I want to give you just a little brief overlook of where I'm going with this and what does this path look like. So our conversation started with the three basic tools of how to maintain and restore health. So just briefly, it's acupuncture, it's common sense, and it's Western science, Western research. So now we're moving on to a little bit more about Chinese medicine, about its principles and the main components of the process of diagnosing, discovering what is going on in the body and what may be improved before we move on to common sense, which guides most of our daily decisions regarding health, and of course talk a little bit more about research and how to use it in the process of restoring and maintaining good health. So this is the first conversation of really of acupuncture, and the basics of it are laid out here in this video. So as I mentioned before, Chinese medicine is just like all ancient Chinese sciences. They are all based on top of philosophy. So this is a very different approach to what we have in the West. It is mind-blowing that they could actually make everything fit together. You know, that it seems effortless. You know, the first time I read and heard these concepts, I was just blown away that this was actually possible, and at such early stage of human development and civilization. So basically what they did is they observed nature. They were immersed in nature more so than we are nowadays, right? We found numerous ways to disconnect, but they were basically part of seasons. They were part of all the processes going on around them, and they probably had some messengers. As I mentioned with acupuncture origins, probably there was a messenger. There was somebody who pointed out all these points, 360 points on the body that can be used as tools in manipulating body's processes. So they probably had other messengers as well, because it's just stunning how tight it is. How in my 20-some years of exposure to acupuncture and Chinese medicine, I haven't seen exceptions. I haven't seen anything that doesn't match, that is somehow like, okay, that every rule has an exception, but you don't really see holes in this theory. So while we may not have proof of any of these concepts, although we're slowly catching up with science is catching up with these ideas, we may not have proof yet, but using them makes sense simply because if you use them, you will have a unified theory that kind of can be applied to anything in our lives. And if you don't, and no real downside, it's kind of like a win-win. This may be the best point on acupuncture itself. It's like there's no side effects. It can either work and bring tremendous healing and results, or nothing happens. And then, okay, so nothing happened. Nothing bad can happen, basically, in this process of using Chinese medicine. So, and maybe that's the why it's penetrating our Western medical environment, despite any proof of how it works and what it does. So, going to laws. So, basically, all of Chinese sciences, they were all built on top of. They connect, they integrate, they form a whole, a tight whole with Chinese philosophy, with Chinese view of the world. So Chinese philosophy, fundamental laws are everything is energy, which is now something nowadays we're finding out from in quantum physics, that energy is behind all forms of matter in our universe. So everything is energy. The law of qi is the number one most fundamental law. Number two is the law of yin and yang. And number three is the law of 5 elements. And I will make additional videos for the 5 element, for each one of the 5 element items, but we'll cover all 3 laws here in this video as briefly as I can. The idea is not to make this a boring curriculum-like set of videos, but more of like practical, how can I use this, how can I apply this to my own individual personal situation. So basically, again, the laws, top 3 laws are law of energy, which states everything is energy. Yin and yang, the law of yin and yang, which states that everything has duality built inside. So yin and yang is basically this plus and minus, tall and short, large and small, that we see everywhere in our universe, male and female. We see this everywhere. So we see this duality built in. So, and then the third one is the law of 5 elements. Just briefly, the law of energy basically states that everything we see around us is just a form of energy. It's just one state of energy that can be transferred into something else. We are learning this, we have learned this long time ago with water that changes shape, right? From vapor to liquid to ice, but it's still water. And we're seeing this, this movement of water through nature, through chemistry of water and nature. We see it everywhere, right? We're seeing now in quantum physics, we're finally starting to explain that all of this is just a matter of just a different frequency of the same energy. So how does this impact us in medicine? Is that we're energy generating mechanisms, machines. That's how it's very, at least that's my interpretation of Chinese view of it. It's very mechanical. It's there are 12 organs in our body that make, move, and or store energy. And when we die, most of the time, we don't die because we ran out of blood. We die because we ran out of energy. Our ability to create more energy has diminished to a point where we use more than we create, than we gain, at which point we will run out. So basically how human life ends is not, like I said, most of the time, it's not because we ran out of blood, but simply because there's no more power to squeeze the rib cage one more time, to make that one more breath is not available. The heart as well, it just stops beating because there's just no more power. So how do we apply this in Chinese medicine? This fundamental law, the number 1 law, is basically recognizing and really accepting that our journey is just a consequence of how much energy we have. The more energy we have, the more we're capable to achieve. The less energy we have, it just becomes survival. It just becomes a struggle to go through one more day. So why does this matter? Is because our focus should be really like, if you're looking for priorities in life, if you're really trying to improve your health, think, how much energy do I have? How much energy can I generate? How can I improve my machine's ability to make more? And because ultimately that will drive all of your achievements in life, all of your successes and failures at the same time. So number 2 is the law of yin and yang. Again, this is it's embarrassing how short is this conversation, but I'm just trying to get you to use these tools without having to spend enormous hours trying to learn more and understand more about it. There's so many resources out there. You can do more research on this. So yin and yang is basically, so energy is number 1, and then yin and yang is just, there are 2 forms of energy. So energy can appear as aggressive, explosive, bright, loud energy, which is male energy, which is yang. So this is aggressive, loud, outgoing energy, explosive, expanding energy. or energy can appear as a feminine energy, which is passive, dark, mysterious, quiet. So there are a number of adjectives we can use for these two. I mean, our languages are filled with references to these two ways of being. So all of us have yin and yang inside. When we're healthy, yin and yang are balanced. So that's why we're looking. That's why you see very often as a symbol of Chinese medicine, we see the symbol of yin and yang. That is that circle with a black and a white tear coming together, completing each other. So this is it's very important, extremely important. When we're well, and most of us have had the fortune, 99% of us had a fortune of remembering days when we were well and nothing hurt and everything was fine. And we were we refer to it as balanced. We were integrated. We were basically part of the world. We were not disconnected. Disconnection happens in health. Disconnection is a symptom of disease. Disconnection is when we start isolating, we start refusing, we start choosing to be alone because we're not well. And we see this with our pets, for instance. You know, if your cat or a dog are sick, your dog, you know, your best friend in life will growl at you if you touch it when it's not well. It just wants to be left alone. You can't find your cat in a house. In the apartment, you can't find your cat. It will find some corner. It will, you know, claw its way into the insides of the sofa, just not to be bothered, to be left alone, to heal in peace. We are the same. We respond the same way. We want to isolate, detach when we're not well. What we see nowadays with our culture is that's the biggest sign of how unwell we are. We're all isolated. We live in our little bubbles, away from other people, you know, staying away, intentionally choosing not to open up, not to integrate, not to connect, not to interact with the closest people in our lives. You know, often with our parents, with our children, with our loved ones, long-term friends. We are losing these connections. We're all, as individuals, we're kind of like fading into that space of being isolated and alone because we're not well. So going back to yin and yang, we're seeking that balance. We're always looking for that balance in every culture, as far as I know. I haven't done thorough research on it, but in every culture there's a reference, in language reference, to balance in the body, to kind of, oh, I'm balanced, I am, therefore I'm well. You know, we equal these two. So how do we see it in our yang culture, in our yang driven culture? We celebrate go go go. We somehow developed this. We went way out of whack. We developed this attitude towards like non-stop action, you know, which you don't see in nature. Nothing in nature goes non-stop. You know, in our corporate environments, we go as far as to say, look at that guy, he never stops, which is insane. It's like a 10-year-old person talking, like just no reference to, you know, experience of a real world would generate something like that. Oh, look at that guy, he never stops. Nothing in nature never stops. It's impossible to never stop. It's just a question of time before it stops permanently. But we naively, we think like, oh yeah, let's go, you know, let's go party, let's go after hours. It just, you get the point. So basically, yin and yang is the balance in the body, balance of these two. We have all evidence that points to our need to sleep about 8 hours a day. 8 hours of sleep is basically our yin balance. We need those 8 hours of sleep to have these 16 hours per day of activity. And even that activity needs to be kind of balanced into some parts of the day, should include some being, some immersion into yin, some, you know, balancing it down, bringing down that yang, that excessive yang that we're constantly going through. So in our health, this is not just our daily choices and the balance of our actions or activity and inactivity, but it's also our choices, our career choices, our family choices, our ability to see the big picture and go long run. Go. This is a marathon. This is not a sprint. Life is not a sprint. It's not sustainable to make it a sprint. But if you make it a balanced journey, something that is sustainable, that you don't wipe out your reserves every day, then you will see you start humming along, you start purring along, just moving, basically cruising through life. And this is, if you look at people who live 100 years, across the board, we see that phenomena. We see cruising instead of campaigning. Campaigning is very dangerous, and campaigning is our diets, our changing diets, changing exercise routines. 1 month I'm like, I'm going to lose this weight. It's just nonsense. Think about it. Nothing in nature campaigns. There's no such thing. Campaign is the equivalent of, at its extreme, is the equivalent of revolution. In nature, you don't see revolution. You see evolution everywhere. So it's really important that we match, that we start. One of the most fundamental statements in acupuncture is actually matching. You have to match your behavior to your design. If you want health, you have to achieve that way of being where you are giving your body what your body needs in order to perform well, just like any machine does. So this is where yin and yang conversations is extremely important, and we'll touch on it in other conversations about acupuncture. But the gist of it is basically we need balance of yin and yang. We have to balance that. We have to. By the way, just something to that is very important about yin and yang. I mentioned word masculine and feminine energy. One is yang, one is yin. This is how we used to see it. That men are more aggressive, more loud, more expanding, and female energy. Females are more submissive, more calm, more flowing like water. So the extremes of yin and yang are: yang is fire, the extreme of yang is fire, and the extreme of yin is water. And so both are necessary for life. Neither one is more important. There's no such thing as better than the other. But we are starting to forget in our cultural discourse. We're starting to forget that we all came from a father and a mother. We all came from an egg and a sperm, and this is the reality of the reality of our world. We can culturally we can move away from that, but we do so at our own risk, at the risk of our health, moving away from that fundamental, duality that we see in nature. So the law of 5 elements. Law of 5 elements is the third law. Like I said, number 1 is everything is energy. Number 2 is there are 2 types of energy. There are 2 variations of or energy can appear in 2 different ways. And then finally, and this is the law that is, by the way, it's important to mention that. We'll talk about it more later. But this is the law that is not used in all of acupuncture, in all of Chinese acupuncture even. So it's fundamental to the acupuncture that I learned, that I study. And this one is called 5-element acupuncture. So in this flavor, in this version of acupuncture, everything in nature goes through 5 stages, 5 cycles. Nothing in nature is born and dies. At least this is according to theory and Chinese observation of life. So what we see is 5 stages, and these 5 stages are birth and unstoppable growth. And number 2 is connection and integration and maturing. And number 3 is peaking, so it's kind of like going up. and then it starts, then it starts going down to declining and dying. So Chinese made these 5 steps into a 5-pronged star. Like you can imagine a 5-pronged star, and these 5 stages are birth, unstoppable growth, connection and maturing, peaking, declining, and dying. And what we see is, in terms of human life, we see 5 distinct periods of our well-being, and this is very interesting. How can you match it to and actually deduce our longevity based on this? So the first stage is always unstoppable growth. In terms of human existence, it is the first 20 years of our life. All babies grow for the first 20 years. But stunningly, I mean, this is so profound, so powerful, so fundamental, that no disease has ever prevented a baby from growing into an adult. There's not a single instance of a baby staying a baby. Think about it. It's just stunning. It's just unstoppable. Cells keep multiplying. All systems are go to make that process, to create that human to the full size human that they will be the rest of their journey. So this is the first stage, and it's always 20 years. 20, 21 years we stop growing. The second stage is fire stage. So I didn't call them by their names yet. So let's quickly do that. So it's wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. Wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. So the second stage is fire stage. This is the stage of connection. This is the stage where we integrate. So the first 20 years we're kind of like we're forming. The second stage is where we're integrating, where we're connecting. So fire is all about connection in terms of human behavior. And this stage lasts 20 years. This is the stage where we're all seeking a soulmate. Every culture, every race, across time, we're all seeking to connect. We're seeking not necessarily to start a family, but we have this need to connect and multiply and procreate. So this is the second stage. By the time we're 40, if we haven't found the partner, if we haven't achieved that connection, very often, if not most of the time, we give up. We say it's not for me, it's not meant to be, it's not for everybody. Some people prefer to be single, and so forth. So 20 years, 20 years. The third stage is peaking. The fourth stage is decline. The fifth stage is dying. So if this is 20 years and 20 years, then these may as well be 20 years each. And this is how we reach that number of 100 years of longevity. And we see this again across races, across cultures, across time. Humans have lived 100 years. I mean, throughout human history, this is not something that is dependent on the quality of life. It's dependent on how we use the vessel, how we apply, how we use our choices to achieve well-being, to achieve homeostasis, to achieve balance with nature outside of us. It's not just in the body, it's everywhere. So again, the 5 are wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. These 2 are yang. These 2 are yang. These are explosive, aggressive, loud, masculine, right? Expansion, body growing, going out of our body to connect to other people. Balance is earth. Earth is ground. Earth is where we're connected to earth. This is our peak. This is when we become the best at everything except explosive energy. Explosive energy, like something we use in sprinting or basketball, a rapid change of direction. This becomes diminished by the time we reach the peak. But intellectually, physically, emotionally, spiritually, we peak in our 40s and 50s. So the up to 20 is wood, 20 to 40 is fire, 40 to 60 is earth, balance, ground, and then we have 60 to 80 is metal, decline, and then dying starts in the 80s. Now it really depends on not just how well we use the body, but on external factors as well. We are not as strong, resilient to overcome some of the challenges that nature will offer. So basically, that's the 5 elements. So why is this important? Why does this matter? So the number one reason why this matters is in 5-element acupuncture, we believe the 5-element acupuncture theory says that we are always one of these 5 elements. We are connected. We come as one of these 5. So there are only 5 types of humans according to 5-element acupuncture. This, it sounds ludicrous, but it's important to mention and really important to remember. 5 types of humans. So you are one of these 5, but we all have all 5 of them to a different degree. So the possibilities, the permutations are just endless. I mean, there's probably no way to put a number on it, because each one has 1,000 shades, and they all change over time as well. As we mature, we change our balances, our inner balances. But basically, we always remain that one type. So this is the way to treat, the way to understand your disease, your situation, is really to start with what is your element. Which one of these 5 are you carrying inside? What is your prominent one? And then there will be other factors as well, but this one will always remain your greatest strength. And almost like a bank account that is overdrawn, it starts becoming your greatest weakness as time goes on if you're not using it properly. So your greatest strength may be your ability to just be motivated and just go, which is wood, which is yang, expansion, right? Or your greatest strength may be, or your greatest affinity may be just to connect. You don't like the idea of being alone, or you don't like the idea of not expressing yourself to other humans. So the third one will be taking care of people, Mother Earth. So your greatest strength may be, throughout your life, the theme may be that you have this just need to make someone more comfortable, to just assist in some minor, little way, make their journey easier. Analytical, critical thinking is the metal, the strength of metal element. And then finally, water is ability to and need to understand the deepest concepts, the deepest mysteries of life. So each one of these 5 has an archetype. We'll talk about them individually in 5 different videos, but the archetypes for them are the pioneer, going in, motivated to go across the world, different places, starting again, starting new projects, always motivated. So the pioneer. The second one is the archetype for the second one is really a jester, a joker, playing, laughing, intriguing others, connecting through words and actions. The third one is Mother Earth, taking care of others. The fourth one is an alchemist who creates something out of nothing. That's metal. That's taking things and understanding what makes them tick. And then the fifth one is the philosopher. The water archetype is philosopher, a person who will sit by the window watching the world outside, trying to understand what's going on. What are the fundamental reasons for the things being the way they are. So there you go. So those are the 3 laws. So again, just to recap quickly, everything is energy. Energy is yin or yang, two flavors of it, and then 5 stages of everything in nature. So these are the fundamental laws of Chinese philosophy, and all of Chinese ancient sciences were built on top of that. So they integrate. They are manifested everywhere in every endeavor that we attempt. So there you go. Thank you very much for sticking around till the end of this video. As I should say, subscribe if you haven't already. Ding that notification bell if you haven't already, and hope to see you again soon. Have a wonderful day.